So when you hear the name Albert Brooks, what pops into your head? Is it maybe that, meticulously self-destructive film editor in modern romance?
Or maybe the voice of Marlin, that panicked clownfish.
Right. Screaming through the ocean. Or, and this is the one that always gets me, is it that stone cold, genuinely terrifying gangster from Drive?
Yeah, exactly. And it's precisely that complexity, that shocking range, really, that makes him such a fascinating subject for a deep dive like this.
Hmm.
We're talking about a true multi-hyphenate here, actor, writer, director, voice artist. I mean, he built this whole influential career playing anxious, sort of self-obsessed versions of himself.
Right. That was his brand almost.
Totally. And then, boom, he just sheds that persona completely for these chilling, really dramatic roles later on. It was quite a turn.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Our mission today, then, is to trace the path of Albert Lawrence Einstein. Yeah, that was his birthday.
Yeah, which is a whole thing in itself,
Okay.
right?
Absolutely. From being this young stand-up who basically, helped invent and maybe even kill traditional joke-telling in the 70s, to becoming this Academy Award-nominated auteur known for these really structured, neurotic comedies.
Yeah.
And then finally becoming this critical darling when he took that unexpected dive into dramatic acting.
And we're drawing on, the sources detailing his huge filmography, both directing and acting, the critical acclaim he got.
Well, those awards.
Exactly. And that really distinctive filmmaking style he had. It helps you understand why he's arguably one of the most influential but maybe subtly celebrated comedic and cinematic minds of the last, 50 years?
A real comedian's comedian and a filmmaker's filmmaker.
Definitely.
Okay, so grab your director's chair. Try not to get too anxious about your life choices because we are diving deep into the world of Albert Brooks. When people talk about being born into show business, Albert Brooks wasn't just near it. He was really born into a proper show business dynasty.
Oh, absolutely. He arrived Albert Lawrence Einstein, July 22, 1947, Beverly Hills, California. And the family was Jewish, deeply embedded in, the top tiers of the entertainment world.
It was a real legacy, wasn't it? Performance, storytelling. It went back decades.
The comedy gene was strong, that's for sure. His father was Harry Einstein, the famous radio comic, known professionally as Parkia Carcass, right?
Yeah, with that thick accent persona. He was huge on Eddie Cantor's radio program.
Which was massive back then. We're talking old school, vaudeville style, mainstream American comedy.
And it wasn't just the dad. The talent really spread through the family. His older brother was Bob Einstein.
Super Dave Osborne.
Exactly. And also the hilariously deadpan Marty Funkhauser on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Brilliant.
Then you've got his older half-brother, Charles Einstein. He was a serious writer for those acclaimed Golden Age TV shows like Playhouse 90 and Lou Grant.
So yeah, imagine growing up in that house. Comedy and drama were probably just the everyday language. The pressure, the expectations.
And growing up there, Southern California, Beverly Hills High, with guys like Richard Dreyfuss and Rob Reiner.
Right. Future collaborators, classmates. It all points to a life just steeped in performance and probably the constant analysis of performance.
What's interesting, though, is that he seemed to know pretty early on that his dad's path, or even his brother's path, that traditional route wasn't for him.
Yeah, he had ambition. You could see that. But it was tied to this real desire for total self-determination.
Yeah.
Doing it his way.
Right. He did a year at Carnegie Institute of Technology, Carnegie Mellon now.
With Michael McKean and David L. Lander, future co-stars.
But he dropped out after just 1 year. Made a very clear choice. Comedy, full-time, but on his own terms.
And part of those terms was the name. He knew he couldn't really pioneer the kind of comedy he was envisioning as Albert Lawrence Einstein. Not just because of the other Albert Einstein.
Yeah, that might have been slightly confusing.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
So by age 19, he changes his professional name to Albert Brooks.
And the story behind that name change, the joke he tells, it's perfect Brooks, right? It sums up that ironic persona he was building.
Absolutely. The sources quote him joking that he changed it because the real Albert Einstein changed his name to sound more intelligent.
Classic. That self-referential humor, using his own identity, the context of fame itself as the material, that was the bedrock of his whole approach.
And that leads right into what the sources call his pioneering work in postmodern comedy. He started popping up everywhere on talk shows, variety shows, late 60s, early 70s. But his stage act was totally different.
Revolutionary for the time.
Completely. It was the opposite of the setup punchline stuff his dad's generation perfected. His early persona was this egotistical, narcissistic, but also deeply nervous comic.
He wasn't just telling jokes.
No. He was performing the failure of the performance.
Yeah.
He was playing this ironic showbiz insider who's basically taking apart the whole machinery of stage comedy right there on stage.
Okay, break that down. What does disassembling comedic stagecraft actually look like in practice?
Well, instead of doing, say, 5 minutes of jokes, Brooks might spend the whole time complaining about the microphone. Or he'd introduce some elaborate bit, then just stop mid-sentence saying it was, too commercial or something. He was playing a version of himself who knew exactly how TV comedy worked, was sort of disgusted by it, but also desperately wanted its approval.
That meta approach, questioning the authenticity of the performance itself, that was brand new.
Ground zero for the next wave.
Yeah.
It paved the way conceptually, stylistically, for guys who came right after him.
Like who?
Well, the sources point to him as a major influence on people like Steve Martin, his highly stylized anti-joke persona.
Right.
Martin Mull, who really leaned into that performance of irony, and maybe most radically, Andy Kaufman. Kaufman's whole thing was blurring the line between what was real and what was performance art.
And Brooks was doing that early on, making the anxiety, the self-analysis, the main event.
Exactly. It's telling, too, that his one brief attempt at traditional network writing was a complete disaster.
Oh, yeah. That ABC show Turn On.
The infamous one. Canceled after a single episode in 1969. Just completely bombed.
Wow.
But maybe that spectacular failure was actually a good thing for him. It probably just solidified his need to control his own work, write, direct, star. Become the auteur.
Before he jumped fully into films, though, he had real success with audio, which gave him that control. He put out 2 comedy albums.
Right, Comedy -1 in '73, that was live.
And A Star Is Bought in '75, the studio one. That got a Grammy nomination.
Yeah, those albums proved his kind of brainy, deconstructive style could actually find an audience. And the move to film was already starting with shorts. He directed the famous Comedian School.
That satiric short, yeah. Aired on PBS way back in '72. Critics called it an early mockumentary.
And that format, the satirical short, the mockumentary, it was perfect for NBC. Between '75 and '76, he directed 6 short films for the very first season of Saturday Night Live.
Wow, right at the beginning of SNL.
Yeah. He was already establishing his cinematic voice, packing these complex satirical ideas into tight visual forms, even before most people thought of him as a feature filmmaker.
So after basically revolutionizing meta-comedy on stage and with those early shorts, Brooks pretty much leaves the stand-up world behind. He pivots fully to filmmaking.
Yeah, it felt like a necessary step. His comedy was so cerebral, so much about performing the process, he really needed the total control you get in the director's chair.
And his first feature, Real Life from 1979, that's really the start of this auteur phase, isn't it? And it's incredibly prescient.
Oh, absolutely. A masterclass in foresight. He co-wrote it with Harry Shearer and Monica Johnson.
His longtime collaborator.
Right. And it was a direct, really pointed parody of that famous 70s PBS documentary, An American Family.
And Brooks stars as this, fictionalized, puffed-up version of himself. Albert Brooks, the filmmaker, documenting a suburban family in Phoenix.
Trying to win an Oscar and a Nobel Prize, which is just perfectly narcissistic.
Hilarious. But what's crucial, as the sources really stress, is how much critics saw that film as predicting the rise of reality TV. Decades before it happened.
Yeah, way before The Real World or anything like that.
How did it predict it, though? It's more than just filming a family, right?
Definitely. The film totally dissects the sort of Faustian bargain of reality programming. Brooks's character isn't just observing. He's manipulative. He's self-serving.
He interferes.
Constantly. He intrudes, he changes things, he deliberately creates drama when the family's reality isn't, juicy enough for the camera. He even says he needs drama to win his awards.
Which is exactly how modern reality TV often works. The producer's agenda, the subjects wanting fame.
Exactly. Real life showed that narcissistic intrusion, the camera changing everything, the inherent lack of reality in reality TV, it nailed it.
And that basic setup, the self-aware, super neurotic guy at the center of some satirical social commentary that really defined his directing work for the next couple decades, didn't it?
Yeah, through the 80s and 90s, he consistently co-wrote, mostly with Monica Johnson, directed and starred in these comedies, playing variations on that theme. The neurotic, self-obsessed character.
But we have to talk about his actual filmmaking style, because it wasn't just about the character comedy. Critics describe it as, discreet, unemphatic, a light touch.
Yeah, which sounds almost anti-Hollywood, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Discreet and unemphatic.
So what does that actually look like on screen?
Well, it's all but classical precision, economy. Instead of, say, dramatic close-ups or flashy editing, Brooks tended to shoot scenes in these smooth, seamless medium shots.
Uh-huh.
And the lighting is usually very clean, high-key, bright, almost unremarkable, like you'd find in an office or a kitchen. The camera itself rarely calls attention to itself.
So the visual style is very controlled, almost mundane.
Exactly. Which creates this hilarious contrast with the character he's playing, who's usually having some kind of volcanic emotional meltdown internally.
Well, right. The visual world is normal, but the protagonist is falling apart. Makes the neurosis seem funnier, maybe pettier.
Profoundly funny, yeah. So the first of these full auteur films after real life was Modern Romance in 1981. He plays Robert Cole, this film editor who's just desperately obsessed with winning back his ex-girlfriend.
Oh, that film is intense, almost painfully so. It's a deep dive into toxic relationship anxiety.
Phenomenal film, but yeah, painful. And commercially, it really struggled. Got a limited release, grossed less than $3 million in the U.S.
Wow.
It sort of highlighted the challenge for Brooks. You know, his stuff was often maybe too specific, too personal, maybe too unsettling for a really wide audience, even though the critics got what he was doing.
But the audience that did connect really connected.
Yeah.
And his next film, Lost in America in '85, that one really landed. It's widely seen as his best received film, right? A classic 80s satire.
Absolutely quintessential. Co-starring Julie Haggerty. It's that satirical road movie about David and Linda Howard.
The yuppie couple.
Yeah, comfortable yuppies who chuck their high-paying jobs to drop out, find the real America in a Winnebago.
And that dream implodes almost instantly.
Immediately. Brooks's character, David, gets them to Furnace Creek, California, and promptly loses their entire life savings. The nest egg playing craps in Vegas.
Oh, God.
The rest of the film is this brilliant kind of cynical look at how fragile that whole yuppie idealism, the American dream, really is when it hits actual hardship.
And it got recognized for that insight, didn't it? Won the National Society of Film Critics Award for Best Screenplay.
Yeah, he shared that with Monica Johnson. A big win.
Then he followed that up with maybe one of the most brilliantly weird premises ever, Defending Your Life in 1991.
Oh, fantastic film. The setup alone. His character, Daniel Miller, dies.
Right.
And ends up in this place called Judgment City, basically on trial in the afterlife, to justify all his human fears and decide his cosmic fate.
It let him take all those classic Brooksian themes, fear, self-doubt, inadequacy, and blow them up to a cosmic scale, but framed as bureaucracy.
Exactly. The whole idea is that human fear is like measurable and you're held accountable for it. Judgment City operates like this giant, slightly tedious corporate retreat or performance review center.
Turning existential dread into paperwork.
Yes, mocking how petty our anxieties are by giving them this grand administrative setting. It's genius.
And besides the concept, critics really love the chemistry between Brooks and Meryl Streep.
Oh, absolutely. She played Julia, his love interest in the afterlife. Their warmth gave the film this huge heart, balanced out the philosophical stuff. Really strong critical response to them together.
Okay, jumping ahead a bit to 96, he goes back to the very personal relationship well with Mother.
Right. He plays John Henderson, a middle-aged writer.
Sounds familiar.
Doesn't it? Who moves back home to sort out all the deep-seated issues with his mother, played by the great Debbie Reynolds.
And this film really cemented his reputation as a writer, got him more major awards.
Yeah. He and Monica Johnson won the National Society of Film Critics Award for Best Screenplay again. That's 2 wins from that group. And they also got the New York Film Critics Circle Award for Best Screenplay. Just consistently smart, witty, insightful writing about how messed up we all are with our families.
The sources point out how even when his characters are successful, like John Henderson being a writer, they still circle back to those core conflicts. External success doesn't fix internal anxiety.
Especially mother-related anxiety, apparently.
Right. And his dedication to satirizing his own career, the industry, it continued right up to his 2005 film, Looking for Comedy in the Muslim World.
Yeah, another one where he plays a fictionalized Albert Brooks. This time, he's commissioned by the U.S. government to go figure out what makes Muslim people laugh. So he tours India and Pakistan.
That sounds brave. Conceptually, at least.
Incredibly brave conceptually. He was trying to satirize the American government's kind of clueless, patronizing approach to complex foreign cultures, all filtered through his character's usual narcissism. But it hit immediate controversy.
How so?
Well, the sources say Sony Pictures actually dropped the film because they wanted him to change the title. They were just scared of the subject matter, even though the satire was aimed at the American perspective.
Wow. So who released it?
Warner Independent Pictures eventually picked it up, but they only gave it a limited release. He got pretty mixed reviews, didn't make much money. It really shows how even a respected auteur like Brooks can hit a wall when the satire gets too close to sensitive political areas, even if the joke is really on the Americans.
Okay, so while Brooks is busy being this auteur, writing, directing, starring in his own unique films, he's also building this really impressive parallel career just as an actor in other people's movies.
Yeah, and often playing roles that were quite different from his neurotic persona, sometimes broader, sometimes much darker.
The foundation for that goes way back, doesn't it, to Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver in 1976.
That's right. His first mainstream film role. He played Tom, the campaign worker who interacts with Travis Bickle. And what's amazing is the sources are clear. Scorsese let Brooks improvise a lot of his dialogue.
Wow, in a Scorsese film? That's huge trust. Shows how much respect people had for his comedic timing and intelligence, even in a serious drama like that.
Definitely. He also popped up in other early hits, like Private Benjamin in 1980 and Unfaithfully Yours in 84. And we can't forget that small but genuinely creepy cameo in the prologue of Twilight Zone, the movie in 83.
Oh, yeah. Playing the driver with Dan Aykroyd as the passenger. That ending. Shudder.
Right. So he showed he could fit into different genres. But his acting career really hit a peak, at least in terms of awards, with James L. Brooks's Film No Relation Broadcast News in 1987.
That's where he got his Oscar nomination, his only one, right? Best Supporting Actor.
That's the one. He played Aaron Altman, that super insecure but incredibly ethical TV news reporter caught in that love triangle.
It felt like an evolution of the Bros character, maybe. Still neurotic, but channeled into professional anxiety, media ethics. He was fantastic in it. Won the Boston Society of Film Critics Award for Best Actor, too.
And Aaron Altman's whole struggle, right? Being the smart, talented guy, losing out to the handsome, maybe less qualified, but more charismatic Tom, played by William Hurt.
It mirrored his early stage persona perfectly. The smart outsider, desperate for validation.
Exactly. And the source material highlights that famous line from the film, which is just pure Brooksian philosophy.
Yep.
Aaron asks, wouldn't this be a great world if insecurity and desperation made us more attractive?
Oof. Yeah. That cuts deep.
So, as his own directing work maybe slowed a bit in the late 90s, his supporting roles really started to diversify. It feels like he was actively looking for parts that played against that nervous, nice guy type he'd built.
Like what?
Well, a key example is playing Richard Ripley, that untrustworthy banker and ex-con in Soderbergh's Out of Sight in '98. He got great reviews for that. It was a subtle shift, but definitely toward less likable characters.
Okay.
He also got good notices from My First Mister in 2001, playing a dying store owner who connects with a cynical teenager.
He even did some TV, right?
Yeah.
Like on Weeds.
Yeah, 4 episodes back in 2008. He played Lenny Botwin, Nancy's estranged, really cynical father-in-law.
But then we get the massive shift, the one that kind of blew everyone away. His role in the 2011 action film Drive.
Oh man, Drive. Playing the antagonist, Bernie Rose.
Veteran gangster. This wasn't just a slight shift. This was a complete 180. He wasn't just playing tough. He was genuinely scary.
Yeah, that combination. He had this benign, almost grandfatherly vibe, but then these shocking bursts of just calculated ice-cold violence. The image of Albert Brooks, Mr. Neurotic Comedy, committing these brutal clinical murders. It was jarring.
In the best way possible, though, critically speaking.
Oh, the critical praise was insane. Immediate, overwhelming, almost unanimous. For the first time, really, Brooks was winning major dramatic Best Supporting Actor awards everywhere. It proved he could totally transform.
And the sheer number of awards was staggering. The sources list them off.
He basically swept the critic circuit that year. National Society of Film Critics, New York Film Critics Circle, Chicago, Florida, Houston, Boston, San Francisco, the Satellite Awards. I mean, list goes on. He was the critic's choice, no question.
Which, of course, makes the famous Oscar snub even more baffling.
Right. After winning practically every precursor award from critics groups across the map, he doesn't even get an Academy Award nomination for Drive.
Still talked about. Why do you think that happened?
Well, the analysis at the time pointed to a couple of things. One, the Academy sometimes struggles with comedians doing serious drama. They almost see it as a novelty act sometimes.
Right.
And two, Drive itself was pretty stylized, pretty violent, a neo-noir genre film. And those kinds of movies often face a bit of systemic bias in the major Oscar categories.
And Brooks' reaction to the snub was just perfect, Brooks.
Oh, classic. He tweeted, kind of echoing Sally Field's famous Oscar speech, but twisting it through his own anxious lens. And to the Academy, you don't like me. You really don't like me.
Even playing a killer gangster, that core persona, the anxious, overlooked insider feeling slighted, somehow managed to peek through hilarious.
It really did. And we absolutely cannot skip over his huge success in voice acting, which maybe offers the most transformative freedom while still using that signature anxiety.
Marlin, the dad clownfish in Pixar's Finding Nemo.
Exactly. From 2003 and then the sequel Finding Dory in 2016, that role was perfect casting.
Totally. Marlin is defined by crippling parental neurosis, fear, anxiety.
All the qualities Brooks spent a lifetime perfecting in live action. He just took that internal struggle and mapped it perfectly onto this animated fish, making Marlin feel frantic but also really grounded and believable.
He also voiced Tiberius, right, the grumpy hawk in The Secret Life of Pets in 2016.
Yeah, though he couldn't do the sequel, apparently. But arguably his most celebrated voice work, at least for animation nerds, is his stuff on The Simpsons.
Credited just as A. Brooks. Always modest.
7 appearances. IGN called him the best guest star in the show's history, which is saying something for The Simpsons.
That's huge praise. Mostly for Hank Scorpio, right?
Primarily, yeah.
Yeah.
That iconic, super friendly supervillain from the You Only Move Twice episode in '96.
Yeah.
Just magnetic. And then he came back as Russ Cargill, the main villain in the Simpsons movie in 2007.
Hank Scorpio is just a masterclass. He's somehow the nicest, most supportive boss Homer ever had.
While also being a Bond-level megalomaniac trying to take over the world. Brooks fuses that charm with menace brilliantly. It's almost like a dry run for the Bernie Rose duality in Drive.
That's a great point. His voice work alone shows incredible range.
Totally. And he kept taking interesting supporting roles after Drive, too. He was in Judd Apatow's This Is 40 in 2012.
Uh-huh.
A Most Violent Year in 2014, playing that sharp lawyer Andrew Walsh. And he played the controversial pathologist Cyril Wecht in Concussion in 2015. Still mixing it up.
So in more recent years, Brooks hasn't just stuck to acting. He's kept exploring other creative avenues, showing that his core themes, social critique, anxiety, the modern condition, can translate beyond the screen.
Yeah, like moving into literature. In 2011, the same year Drive came out, actually, he published his first novel, 2030, The Real Story of What Happens to America.
Right, taking that Brooksian satire and observation into long-form fiction.
Exactly, tackling big future issues like aging populations, economic shifts. It really reads like a Brooks movie, just in book form. Same sensibilities.
And for anyone wanting a really comprehensive personal look at his whole life and career, 2023 was a big year with the release of that documentary, Albert Brooks, Defending My Life.
Yeah, that was great. And what's really cool about it is that it was directed by Rob Reiner.
His friend and high school classmate.
Exactly. Someone who literally saw his entire journey from Beverly Hills High to the stand-up revolution and beyond. It really underscores how woven into the fabric of American comedy history Brooks is.
It's a fantastic resource. Great interviews with just a stellar list of people. David Letterman, Sharon Stone, Larry David, James L. Brooks, Conan O'Brien, Sarah Silverman, Ben Stiller.
Yeah, it really shows the immense respect he has within the industry. These are heavy hitters singing his praises.
And after the documentary came out, Brooks even went on Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, later that November.
Right, sharing even more stories, adding context. So there's plenty out there now for fans who really want to understand the guy who turned anxiety into an art form.
And just on a personal note, the sources mention he married the artist Kimberly Shlain, daughter of surgeon Leonard Shlain, back in '97.
They have 2 kids, Jacob and Claire, live in Santa Monica. Still close to the industry, but maybe maintaining that little bit of distance an observer needs, especially a professional neurotic observer like Brooks.
So, wrapping this all up, when you look back at this incredible, kind of weird trajectory, you've got a guy who starts by tearing down stand-up comedy from the inside.
Right.
Evolves into this auteur director, creating these deeply personal, perfectly crafted films, satirizing the American dream gone wrong. Like the immediate failure in Lost in America.
Total collapse of the fantasy.
And then completely out of left field, he transforms into this genuinely terrifying, dramatic actor in Drive.
Yeah. But the thread connecting it all, I think, is his incredible ability to make uncomfortable things, whether it's deep psychological neurosis, professional desperation, or even chilling evil feel intensely real and somehow relatable.
His own films, where he's playing John Henderson or David Howard, they feel like thinly veiled versions of himself wrestling with anxiety, right? It's the comedy of discomfort built into the film's DNA.
Definitely. And that brings up a really interesting question, doesn't it? Especially in today's world where everyone's a multi-hyphenate doing everything. How much of a performer's real self is revealed in that highly stylized fictional work, the auteur Brooks minding his own fears?
Versus how much is hidden or maybe even transformed when they go for a total departure, like playing Bernie Rose or even voicing Marlin the Clownfish.
It makes you think that maybe Brooks found his artistic freedom, not just by playing versions of himself, but by showing that the energy behind that anxiety, that intelligence, could fuel characters all across the spectrum. From the guy literally defending his failures in the afterlife,
Right.
to the guy capable of just shocking, calculated violence. Maybe the true identity isn't the persona, but the sheer capacity for that transformation itself.
That's a great way to put it. Well, we absolutely encourage you, the listener, to seek out those two National Society of Film Critics award-winning screenplays he co-wrote with Monica Johnson. Go watch Lost in America from 1985 and Mother from 1996.
Yeah, you'll really see that distinctive, discreet, but devastatingly funny auteur style he perfected. They hold up incredibly well.